So good morning everybody. I'm just going to adjust that camera slightly. This works. Right, so I've tried a different angle so I can show you this landscape bargello. So I'm hoping it's picking up my voice enough. I'll just do a short video and test it. So this is not a usual topic that I would teach in class. It tends to be more of a workshop. I take a whole day to do. But a few people have asked for it, so I thought, right, I'll put it together. So what I've got behind me is these strips are all pre-cut, I've cut them, but imagine it was all back together again. And what we've got are 2.5 inch strips, all sewn together like a big scarf. Now, you can use any width you like. So if you're using jelly rolls, it depends what the piece of work, the width of it you want to finish, but you could just cut across the whole of the jelly roll. You could use half, but don't forget there's a lot of seams in this, so it shrinks sideways because of all the piecing back together again. So it might be an idea just to have a practice, use a width of fabric. So what we've got here is 10 different fabrics across here, and then a large piece at the top which is the same width but it's much higher. I think it's about 20 inches. And there's a large piece at the bottom. If I just take this strip off, you can see there's a large piece at the bottom. And it becomes obvious why we need that once we start to move the fabrics around. So for this point, all you would do is cut 2.5 inch widths, so jelly rolls are perfect, sew them together. Now if you're copying a landscape that you've got a photograph of or it's a memory of something, then you would pick the colours to depict that. This was put together for a talk I did for Southport Quilters. So it's got sort of beach scenes, sunshine and sand, and it's supposed to be the big beach here and the sky at the top. But it can be whatever you want. And I'll post some photographs of other landscape bargellos I've done, which will give you an idea. It doesn't have to be a particular thing, or you can just do it completely random and see what happens, which is the joy of it. So I think bargello puts a lot of people off because they're quite anxious. If you see those books where it looks almost like a knitting pattern, then it can be quite tricky to follow, and I think it puts a lot of people off. So this is so simple, but obviously it's not quite as technical as those. So what you would do, cut your strips, sew them all together. So those of you that have done Trip Around the World, follow the same technique. So sew 2 strips together, then 2 strips together, open those out, and then sew those 2 together and go the opposite way. So you're sewing up and down, up and down. So it would be those 2 together, then those 2 together, and then join them together and go from the other side. And that's just to ease out the tension and try to keep the strips straight. So that's what we're looking for. So you would end up with all this central piece all joined together, then add what's going to be the top and what's going to be the bottom, and put those all together as one. So I'll pause and I'll come back in a second.